Hey guys, it's Georgia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If y'all are new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be taking a moon dream catcher that I found at the dollar store that I just didn't really like how they decorated it, and adding my own style to it, making it a little more like natural, witchy looking than the yarn and big plastic beads that were originally on it. But yeah, I hope you guys like it, and if you do, please remember to like, subscribe, all that stuff. And if you want to purchase something like this, I'm going to be adding them to my Etsy shop down below. But yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so here is the dream catcher that we're going to be fixing. Like I said, I like that moon part, but it's yarn and pony beads and just looks really childish for what I have in my space. So I'm just going to be deconstructing it so I have just the moon part. So taking out all those little tassels that have the pony beads on the end, cutting the netting out because I didn't want any parts of the white or the bright beads left on the wire, and just cutting around and taking off the yarn on the outside. This part was just annoying to try and get an end of because there was so much glue on both ends. I couldn't tell exactly where I should have cut to start, and once I did, I was able to cut the end off so that I had almost a nice clean wire to work with, and just going in with an X-Acto knife real quick, taking off that last little bit that was stuck on with some glue. Now that I have the nice clean wire, I'm able to go in with this gray cotton thread I have. I know it's not as natural as using fake leather would be, but this just matches a lot more with what I wanted it to look like. After tying it tight on one end, just going to start going around with the other parts of the thread really tight. I ended up cutting about 2 or 3 foot piece of cord so that I didn't have to figure out how to wrap it with the like wood part that was holding all of the thread together, but just making sure it was really tight. This did take quite a while, but it was really satisfying, and I know now that I did it right and it's not going to come undone. Getting those little pointed ends were kind of difficult, so I ended up just leaving one blank, figuring that the glue was going to attract enough lint to make it the same gray, and the wire isn't shiny, so it wasn't going to be that big of a difference if I didn't cover it. But making sure everything else was nice and tight so that it didn't move and I could use it as a base to make the webbing and all of that. Once I had it all finished, just wrapping around the top and then going through the hole so that it's nice and secure, using a little drop of fabric glue just to make sure that it's held in place and doesn't unravel from the end, securing that in and letting it dry with a bulldog clip. Once that was finished, I was able to remove it, and it was clearly stuck, cut off the excess bit, and now I could start working on the webbing. I'm going to be using this silver embroidery floss that I have to sort of make the webbed design, so just tying it on one end. And one thing I did like about the original was the beads on it. I just didn't like those specific beads, so I'm just taking some crystal chips that I have, choosing a couple of rose quartz ones so I can still have those in the netted part of the dream catcher. So once I chose my crystals, I glued the end that I was threading with of the string, and I just sort of started going to town with it. This took a while because it was a lot of trial and error, how to make sure that it would stay tight, how to make sure that pieces weren't going to move. So I ended up doing like a bead on every other one and just tying it, like almost looping it on the top so that it was stationary where I put the top, but then the web, what's now like a bowed part, was able to be moved because after I did this first side, I wanted to go on the second side so it looked all together, and I was able to tighten the circular parts while pulling through the other side, so it looks like a netted dream catcher and not just like streamers hung up on the end. I followed the same design and the same knot. It's really hard to explain how I did that, but I did the same design of every other string had a bead, so it wasn't too clustered in any one specific part. got to the end and I was able to just tie a knot sort of where the start knot was so that they're right next to each other, and I didn't end up gluing this section because it's not gonna be used, and I was able to get a fairly decent and tight knot, so I didn't feel the need to do that. With those done, I'm now able to cut off the excess, and I can start working on what's going to be hanging from the dreamcatcher. Like I said, a traditional dreamcatcher would have been made with leather and would be using feathers to attach on the bottom, but I didn't want to do that because I don't really like feathers. So I'm taking that excess yarn that I had, or not yarn, but thread from doing the outside, and cutting it into 6 or 7 equal length strips and sort of looping those on the bottom the same way that they were originally looped with the pony beads, but I'm not adding the beads down on this section onto the cotton. I want those to be able to fray on their own, be their own nice tassel. With them all there, just cutting it so they're all nice and even because it got a little messed up with how I was putting them. And I decided to add a crystal like beaded charm to the bottom so that I could still incorporate the crystals and charms without it looking tacky on the actual thread. So I have a moon charm, a star charm, and a little charm that says follow your dreams, and just choosing the crystals that I'm going to be using for these little like dangling pendulum things. I originally did 4 on each outside, or 5 on each outside, and 7 on the inside, but after using it for a little while I did end up changing it because it was way too long, and just getting some eye pins, putting the beads on those so it looks more like a chained thing than just a straight beaded one. So I'm just cutting the excess part of the eye pin off, twirling to make another hole sort of with tweezers, and just repeating that for all of the charms, and then just putting them all together with a couple jump rings, starting with the middle, putting one on each end, and just closing them up together so that it is like a nice chain with breaks in between. After I finish that first one, going the same exact process with the second and third, and with those done, I just need to figure out how to attach it. So I grabbed some larger jump rings that were going to fit over the wire. So it's kind of hard to show it on camera because it needs to be really close to my face, but pretty much just opened the jump ring, got it around the wire, attached the link that I had made for the crystals, and that was pretty much it. It was just annoying because there was so much other thread and yarn, and it was hard to get it nice and exact. But with that nice and done now, I could have stopped here, but I thought it needed one more thing. So I'm just adding a little wooden butterfly. I really like Dolly Parton, so butterflies are kind of her thing, so to help me get my dream of going to see her. So I wanted to do a pink ombre for this, so since it's 3-dimensional, just going in on all the little holes and the edges with light pink on top, dark pink on the bottom. Then once that's done, I would be able to go on the tops, fill in the top with a nice thick layer of light pink, and do the same on the bottom but with the darker pink. Once I got those two done, just holding it steady with a paint stirrer that I use and blending it out with a bigger brush. This part really easy because it's just blending paint out. After I had the one side finished, I flipped it over and repeat the same process on the other side. So again, a nice thick layer of light pink on top, thick layer of dark pink on the bottom, and just holding it steady with a paint stirrer and blending the whole thing out. Once I had this finished, I decided to add a little bit of glitter to it to make it shine so that it sort of catches the sun when it's in a window. So just adding that to one side, and then as careful as I tried to be, it did overflow onto the edges, and I had to fix up the other side because it peeled off with some of the glitter. So just going in with some pink of both sides, blending that little bit out, and just covering it with glitter. I ended up putting the other side on the front clearly because I didn't want to have to do the process a full second time. But with the little butterfly ready, I decided I want to add it sort of in the middle so it looks like it's a butterfly flying through the night sky, taking some of those extra crystals that I had made and just attaching them so there's the two little chains to hold the butterfly in place on top like a triangle, it's a lot easier to see when it's done, but just making sure that I have those nice and secure so it's not going to just randomly fall down. Using the same process, a big jump ring on the top, getting it over the actual dream catcher itself, and then placing it so that the butterfly is facing forward and isn't going to fall off, isn't going to be dangling to one end. And now there we go, all nice and set. Just need to come up with a way to hang it. So since I want to put this in my car, I needed to make sure it was removable and easy to remove. So I just added a little bit of chain with a lobster claw on one end so I can put it around my rearview mirror and attach it there. But with that, is nice and done. I really do like how it came out. I think that this is a lot more mature for a dream catcher than the white and bright colors were, and I'm not 100% sure if the crystals are real. The place I buy them from, it says that they are rose quartz crystals, but regardless, I think it looks nice, and while it's not 100% natural like a traditional dream catcher, I think it fits much better in my space. But I really hope that you guys did enjoy this project because it was really fun, and I am going to be adding them to my Etsy shop. I'm not necessarily sure what shapes I'm going to have, but I will be adding those in a couple of weeks. If you're seeing this a little bit later, you can go down in the link below to purchase it, and other items that you may see in future videos or may have had in another video. All my other social medias are down below as well, so you can follow me to see me more than just the every couple of weeks I post on here. But I really hope that you guys like this one, and if you did, just remember to like and subscribe. Thanks, bye.